You might hear a few birds in this video. I have the window open. It's the first nice weekend of the year. 20 degrees yesterday, 20 degrees today, 21 degrees on Monday, tomorrow.
Those are really good.
I was sitting out on the front porch last night when I got home from work for an hour or so, reading at the Existentialist Cafe. It's around here somewhere. I have the dust jacket off the book. Freedom Being and Apricot Cocktails. It's quite an interesting book. I'll do a review when I finish it. I'm hoping to finish it tonight after I film this. I'm going to take a cup of tea, go out to the porch, and read until supper time. My hair feels strange because I was at work and I had it tucked up under a black baseball cap in a ponytail. I used to do it in a bun. I would twist it up and tie it with 2 hair elastics. Now I can use 1 hair elastic and just put it up in a ponytail, stuff it under the hairnet, and fit that through the back of the baseball cap. But I've noticed it kind of makes it curl in or curl out on itself. But anyway, the reason I'm sitting here is to talk about Paris Vagabond by Jean-Paul Clébert. Once again, I am butchering a French name, but it's translated by... Where's the translator's name? Translated by Donald Nicholson Smith. Photographs by Patrice Molinard, and a foreword by Luc Sante. So this is a memoir of sorts, I guess you could call it that. It's basically a collection of snapshots, little episodes written by a man who was homeless in Paris in the late years of the 1940s. I suppose I should also say that I'm drinking Pinot Noir by Henry of Pelham, which is a Canadian wine company, and they're one of my favorites. A little pricier, but one of my favorites. And by pricey, I mean about $14 a bottle. I'm cheap. Unfortunately, I didn't enjoy this book nearly as much as I thought that I would. My main issue with it was that it was kind of fragmented. I expected a kind of chronological, continuous story, but it's just kind of episodes in this man's life thrown together, and he's referencing places that I have no markers for. I have no idea where they are in Paris. To me, one neighborhood is the same as the next. There's no map included for me to visualize this at all. So to me, it just seemed very fragmented, but at the same time, almost as if the same scenes were repeating themselves over and over again. It's basically this man in different neighborhoods explaining different ways to find shelter, find food, explaining different markets, different people he's met, and the people that he met seem very similar in themselves. I think the highlight of this book are the photographs. So every few pages, on almost every page actually, there are photographs taken in Paris. And there's so many in this book. If you look at the edge of the book, it's kind of gray, because all the pages with photographs have black edges, and there's quite a lot of them. Beautiful photographs. I still enjoyed this book though. I probably wouldn't read it again, but it was an interesting read. The narrator himself, the way he frames his journey, the way he frames himself in this vagabond, in this basically a homeless society of people. It's interesting. It's almost as if he's trying to convince the reader that he chose to be there, that he wasn't like everybody else, that he had a mission, he had the writings that he was doing. Apparently he would write his little snapshots, his little stories on bits of paper, napkins from restaurants, pretty much any spare scrap of paper that he could find, and he would stuff them into a bag. And later on, a few years after this, he opened up that bag and he pretty much took a whole bunch at random and formulated them into this book, which is probably why it seems fragmented to me, because it is fragmented. But he seems to portray himself as somewhat different, somewhat special. He's not just another homeless guy, not just another person with no place to sleep, not just another person without food to eat. But to me, I guess it just seemed like he was giving his life, his experience, meaning that isn't really there. To be honest, I saw him as pretty much like all the other homeless people he encountered. Of course, because it's told from his point of view, there is going to be a favoring towards himself. As per usual, I'll include a small snippet, a small passage from the book. So I've just opened up to a random page 181. There's a picture of what appears to be a shed or a barn of some sorts. Those appear to be chickens. And he writes, "All the same, despite the abundance of hideaways conducive to brief but restorative sleep, even the craftiest of vagrants ends up sleeping rough from time to time, either because he finds himself too far away from the nearest such refuge, or because he is halted by painful feet, or shoes that hurt, or the cold, or the rain, or simply the wish to spend the night under the stars in a little-known neighborhood, or else indeed most often because he is confused and disoriented by the kind of glorious bender that leaves your gray cells paralyzed and your movements weak. All reasons, good or bad, for fending off even the most pressing matters, and settling for a safe corner to crawl into, curl up in, and wait to see what the day brings." The entire book is pretty much like that. He explains, he rationalizes, he even philosophizes at some point the experience of basically being homeless in Paris. One point of news, I guess, is that tomorrow I'm going to a used bookstore in the city, and I have a whole bag of books that I am going to trade in for used books. I do that from time to time, so I will probably have a used book haul for you later this week. Probably tomorrow if I'm feeling industrious.